if I can figure this out. How do I do this? Okay, here they are. Okay. All right, so here are all the different ways that you can invest in real estate. All right, you can rehab, wholesale, do notes, performing notes or non-performing notes, lease options, subject to, lend your money out, crowdfunding, turnkey, rentals, storage, assisted living, commercial, multifamily, virtual wholesaling, remote rehabbing, owner financing, wraps, self-directed IRAs, vacation rentals, sandwich lease options, signage, mobile home parks, tax liens, and land. So there are a lot of different ways for you to be able to invest in real estate. And I know, a lot of you know of a lot of these, but a lot of you don't know of all of these. And, once you start really getting into real estate investing, you're going to end up doing a lot of these types of transactions, right? That's the fun part, is that when you set up your marketing, when you set up the foundations of your business and start getting your marketing to come in, essentially what happens is you really don't know what's going to come across your plate. Right. You might just happen to, you might be marketing for like a house that you can rehab. And in the end, you find a duplex or like a quad that you can buy, or you might find somebody that wants to own or finance it to you. So ultimately, your goal is that you want to learn as many of these types of transactions as you possibly can, because you want to be able to do something with every single type of deal that comes across your plate. All right. But when you start out, essentially you focus on one thing. You get really good at it, and then once you get good at that, you move to the next thing. And that's kind of how I did. I started out with wholesaling, then went to rehabbing, and then moved on to like landlording, and did a whole bunch of different creative deal structures. Got really good at that. Then I moved on to commercial, tried to get really good at commercial stuff, started getting into self-storage, etc. And that's kind of how it moves around. And who knows what's going to happen with you when you get into this, right? In the next 10 years, if you really stick to this and make real estate investing a priority, the truth is you have no idea all the different opportunities are going to open up to you. Because when I first started out in real estate investing, I had no idea that I was going to end up doing self-storage. All right. And, I just got in and was like, let me just take this thing day by day, really, focus on this and grow my business and kind of just see where it takes me. And actually, we're still doing that to this day. Who knows what's going to happen in the next 10 years, right? Okay. All right. So let's see. Let's go through these. Okay. So rehabbing and remote rehabbing. I get this question a lot. Can we rehab right now? Is it a good idea to rehab, especially in the market and where the market is? Okay. And the truth of the matter is, I'm going to take my glasses off because I'm old, and like when something's like so close to me, I'm just like, it all gets all blurry, and then like my head starts hurting. So anyways, let me fix my hair first though. Okay, there you go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so rehabbing and remote rehabbing. The question is, can you rehab right now? Okay, so rehabbing, everybody knows what rehabbing is. Essentially, you go out, you find an ugly house, you fix it up, and then you sell it and make some money on it, right? You buy cheap, you sell high, you fix it up, you make it look beautiful. And it's a lot of work. And people want to rehab. It's a lot of work, just so y'all know. It's not easy. It's not easy to rehab, okay? So can you rehab right now? Yes, of course you can rehab right now, but you need to be focusing on affordable housing. Affordable housing, all right? There is a major affordable housing issue in the United States right now, okay? And just because over the course of the last X amount of years, the prices just went up just like dramatically for housing. We all know that, right? And the truth of the matter is there's just not enough houses in the world. If you do new construction, you're in the right place right now. I'm gonna tell you, people don't want to buy rehabbed homes anymore because you can go out and buy a new construction in like a small town somewhere, Like I was down in Valdosta, Georgia. That's where we just picked up a storage facility down there, and there is so much new construction going on down there. And there's so many rehabs going on. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Now, you have that in major cities as well too, but the truth of the matter is you got to have some money to do it in those areas. So my suggestion is, when you're first starting out and you're out and you can only borrow X amount of dollars, you got to reverse engineer how much money you can actually borrow, and then try to figure out the areas, the markets that you can be in to be able to rehab. Okay, so if you can only come up with $15,000 or $20,000, well, that's going to only get you X amount of dollars if you borrow it, right? So where can you find the houses that fit that? I call that reverse engineering, but definitely, totally, you can rehab in this time period. Just focus on affordable housing, unless you're like a badass rehabber. If you're a badass rehabber and you could just be like, bing, bang, boom, let me just get this done. I got it all automated and systematize it. Well, then you can go out and customize and do like, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 homes, because people are still buying those, right? But you just gotta know what you're doing. So my opinion is, if you don't know what you're doing, just do affordable housing, $200,000 or less homes. Find an area where you can be all in at around those numbers. Okay. Wholesaling and virtual wholesaling. This is, of course, you can always wholesale in any market, up, down, left, right. You can do wholesaling. All right. The thing with wholesaling is that you got to have some money to do it. This is not put out a few bandit signs and get a whole bunch of deals. It just doesn't work this way. Okay. It just doesn't. Wholesaling costs money, and it just really irks me when there's people out there saying that you can just get in and make $10,000 on free bandit signs and stuff. So, I mean, the thing is that you're building a business. All right. So you got to have a little money to make a little money. You got to spend a little money to make a little money. Okay. So wholesaling is when you're essentially the middle person between the buyer and the seller. Okay. And you put the property that you find under contract with a contract that's it's called an assignable contract. And you convince the seller to sell you the house, and then you go out and find a buyer to buy the house, and you get that cut in the middle, whatever it is. If you find somebody that wants to sell for 100, and then you find somebody that wants to buy for 110, you make $10,000. Bing, bang, boom. All right. It's not that easy though. There's a lot of moving parts. So I highly recommend, if you're interested in wholesaling, that you check out Mike Watkins' wholesaling training. Every single week he does a webinar on how to wholesale. Okay, so make sure you go to that every week. So just go to the calendar and then register. You have to register for every single event with REI USA in the members portal. That's how you have to do it. Okay, they're only available for members. So just get in there and look at the calendar and be like, "Ooh, I want to do that. Ooh, I want to do that. Ooh, I want to do that." And then just register for everything, and then you'll get email reminders and all kinds of stuff. You can put it on your calendar. You can also just put it right on your calendar right then and there too. Okay, and let's see what else. Okay, wholesaling. What else is with wholesaling? Oh yeah, also I was going to tell you too, if you're interested in wholesaling, then I highly recommend that when you become a member, you take Mike's wholesaling course for free. As a member, you get this course for free. So all you have to do is just go into the members portal and click on online courses, and his course is right there for you. Okay, and you can watch it anytime. It's 12 modules. You can watch it as fast as you want, slow as you want. You can implement. You can just watch and binge. Instead of binge watching Gladiators or whatever these shows are called, I can't remember. Binge watch Mike's wholesaling course. Okay. All right. Non-performing notes. I think we have non-performing notes and performing notes now. So non-performing notes. Notes is always like notes in a good market and a bad market. You're always going to hear about notes. But the truth of the matter is, you can hear more about it in a down market, right? So over the course of the next couple of years, you're going to hear about notes. And basically all it is a piece of paper. You're buying the mortgage of somebody, of whoever has the note. You're just buying that mortgage. And it's really just a paper transaction is what it is. And this is honestly, if you can get really good at this, this is a great way to make money. It's a whole different world out there. It's kind of like self-storage. Like self-storage is like a little tiny niche, and not a lot of people really know about it or even want to do it. It's just a little tiny area. That's how notes is too. But I highly recommend that if you're interested in learning about notes, then you watch for the calendar, because we will definitely be having notes on the calendar coming up pretty soon as well too. Okay. So notes is a definite huge yes over the course of the next couple of years. If you want to get into notes, it's a great time to get into notes. Okay. Lease options. No matter what time, up cycle or down cycle, lease options is the way to go. Okay, options and lease options. You're always going to hear about this. Now, sandwich lease options and lease options are good with pretty houses. This is like a pretty house thing most of the time. This is like pretty houses. Okay, essentially, you're going to have two contracts. You're going to rent for X amount of years with an option to buy. All right. It's kind of like owner financing. It's kind of like owner financing, but what we call it in the real estate investing world is we call it rent to own is what we call it. Rent to own. All right. And you see this all the time. You see this in Craigslist and stuff. You'll see owners like, you know, us that are like rent to owning their houses. This is a very smart way to make money as an investor. So if you have a house that you can rent to own, not only do you make money on that rent, you can make money on a down payment, you can make money on the sale of the house on the back end. There's a lot of different ways for you to make money. So lease options are very, very good for pretty houses. So if you come across any pretty houses, no matter what the market is, lease options the way to go. But especially in the downturn, you'll hear about lease options. See, I got into the real estate market right on the upswing. Right. I got it right in 2010, like right when we were coming out of the bubble. Everybody's talking about lease options. Everybody, you know, it's like a thing, a creative deal structuring, lease options, and because there was no money out there. Right. So we all had to like figure out how to use our, you know, bubblegum brain. I call it bubblegum brain, right? Use your brain and, you know, try to come up with ways to buy these houses without any money. So if you don't have any money, lease option is the way to go. Is it easy? No. All right. But if you can learn this strategy, it's a great way to buy houses for little or no money. When you hear about little or no money, they're using subject to lease options, sandwich lease options, and owner financing, essentially is what they're talking about, among other things. But those are the main things. Let me see. Oh no, not this one. Okay, this one. Owner financing. Owner financing is my favorite way to make money and to buy property. You just have to convince the owner to be the bank. That's all it is the owner's the bank. And basically you say, you know, you just say like, look, why would I go to the bank and get a loan and give them all the interest that we're going to be making over the X amount of years? Well, I could just do that to you. I could just give you the money. Why don't you just take this money? Can you make $100,000 on this house instead of me giving it to Bank of America or Wells Fargo or whatever it is? So that's what owner financing is. So convincing the owner to be the bank for you, or vice versa, you can be the bank for somebody else, right? You can go out there and you can buy properties for $100,000 or less and then owner finance them to people to buy them. And essentially you become the bank. And then you make like, I mean, you can owner finance like 10% interest. I mean, people out there that can't afford hot property right now, you know, they can't afford it. They could they got some money down, but their credit is horrible. Owner finance it to them and make some money on that. Get the down payment and make some interest. Make some money on that interest. Love owner financing. Love owner financing. One of my favorite ways to make money and one of the best ways to make the most amount of money in the real estate investing world, if you truly understand this concept. Subject to. All right, subject to also. Subject to is essentially you taking over the payments of a mortgage that's already there. That's what subject to is, right? So you never want to talk to somebody and be like, hey, will you sell this house subject to me? Because nobody going to buy it. And nobody going to do it, right? Because nobody understands subject to, right? So you're going to say like, hey, what if I leave the mortgage? What if we leave the mortgage in place and you just let me start making payments in it? And I'll give you like $5,000 to just get out of this house. You deed the house to me, right? You're deeding the house to me. You deed the house to me, but I keep the loan in your name. This is good. These are good at any time, up downs up cycles and down cycles, but you're going to hear a lot more about this now, a lot more, especially when there's like foreclosures and stuff like this. You really hear a lot about this. There is this thing called due on sell clause, which, you know, when you start learning about subject to, essentially, you know, the bank can call the mortgage due, right? But then you just like sell it, put it on the market and sell it, you know, and try to, you know, there's lots of exit strategies is what I'm saying. And actually we have a teacher that's going to teach only subject to every single month. You can become like the subject to pro. All right. And get out there and just buy houses. This is like, if you have no money, this is what you need to be learning, right? This is another creative deal structure. And we got a teacher that's teaching on this on a regular basis for REI USA. So be on the lookout for that as well. Okay. we got teachers for everybody, but I'm just saying, we're trying to also, like, our teachers are trying to, like, we're separating. They're not going to just do creative deal structuring, right? Because that's too much. So each one is going to have, like, we're going to have an owner financing teacher, Subjectto, lease option. So you'll be able to just go to all of them and then say, okay, like, I think I'm just going to focus on this one path here after you educate yourself about them. Okay. That's kind of how we're doing it. Wraparound mortgages. This is a mortgage. This is somebody that wants to sell their property. It's got some equity in it. And then you can come in and then you can put another mortgage around that. And it's called a wrap. And this is a creative deal structure. And you will hear more and more about this over the course of the next couple of years. In a downturn, you hear about this a lot. And this is actually a very, very creative way to buy properties, especially if you have no money. This is what you do. You know, this is how you buy them, right? So definitely you want to be looking out for any webinars and trainings that we have on wraps. And you will see this coming up over the course of the next couple of months. Lending and crowdfunding. Lending and crowdfunding. So if you've got money, honey, then you should be like, your ultimate goal as an investor is not to be like the one that's, you know, doing all the work. All right. You don't want to be sitting there rehabbing and wholesaling for the rest of your life. All right. You want to be lending your money out. I'm telling you, my lenders that lend me money, they have made so much money off me. And literally all they have to do is like wire the money to the attorney and like keep track of it for like tax purposes. And that's it. That's all they got to do. That's the life. One of my lenders, like he was in the process of building his like dream home with all the money that he made off me. So, and he did nothing. He did nothing to make that money except for just like wire the money over. So your ultimate goal is to learn how to lend and to learn about crowdfunding. And crowdfunding is essentially, you know, when you start getting into like bigger properties, like commercial, multifamily, syndication, self-storage, like we have a fund. Right. So this is like, you know, this is your ultimate goal this is your goal. Like when you're like, I'm ready for a fund. I'm ready to syndicate. I'm ready to get out there and raise capital, like, you know, through the SEC. That's like, you're on your way when you get to that point, right? So that should be your goal. I'm telling you, lending and crowdfunding is your ultimate goal as you go through the real estate investing journey. Okay. Totally doable because I'm doing it. And guess what? 10 years ago, I had no idea what even crowdfunding was. It's totally doable. Okay.